Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is Ayman Nazir and welcome to Knowledge Realm. Today we're going to discuss another topic of current affairs and the topic that we're going to discuss today, I wish that it had never even existed and I hope that all other peoples would also wish something like this. We're going to talk about the terrorism in Pakistan, and we're going to talk about the resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. We know that after the revival of Afghan Taliban in Afghanistan, Pakistan is seeing increasing threat of terrorism in Pakistan. So we're going to discuss this today and we're going to try to cover this in detail. So stay focused and let's get started. So we're going to start with a brief introduction. First, we're going to understand what is terrorism. Global Terrorism Database defines terrorism as the use of illegal force and violence by a non-state actor to attain political, religious, or social goal through fear, coercion, and intimidation. So it is very clear now here that terrorism is something that a non-state actor practices. A non-state actor uses force and violence, and this actor has some political, religious, or social goal to attain. And to attain such kind of goals, these non-state actors use illegal force and violence and try to intimidate civilian people, security personnel, and the state. Actually it tries to challenge the writ of the state to attain some political, religious, and social goals. Okay, so this is what a non-state actor does to attain some goals. This was very comprehensive definition of terrorism. Now Pakistan has been a victim of terrorism. We all Pakistani, we know this, that Pakistan has been a victim of terrorism. Numerous types of terrorism are threatening Pakistan and we would discuss this in future. Terrorism in Pakistan actually started with the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979. Terrorism came to Pakistan as a result of this Soviet-Afghan war. Then in 2001, Pakistan joined US in war on terror and got attacked by terrorists frequently. This was the time when terrorism was at its peak in Pakistan. Then to eradicate Pakistan, Pakistan launched operations. Operations such as Zarbul Azb, Raddul Fasad, and Operation Sher Dil. Pakistan launched such kind of operations to get rid of terrorism. Now students, we know that there is a resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan, and this resurgence started after the revival of Afghan Taliban in 2021. We all know that now terrorist non-state actors are committing terrorist activities in different parts of Pakistan. This is very sad, and this was a brief introduction. Now we would discuss this in detail. So we are studying terrorism in Pakistan, and we're going to start it with the categories of terrorism in Pakistan. If we divide the terrorist activities that Pakistan is a victim of, we can divide this in two major categories. Internal terrorism, that people from within the country practice. Then external terrorism, that people from without the country and groups or actors, we can call non-state actors and state actors, commit from without the country. So internal terrorism can further be divided into ethnic terrorism, terrorism between two different ethnicities. Then there are separatist movement in the areas that are not well developed. There are separatist movement in Pakistan. Then there are nationalist movements, marginalized groups, they start nationalist movements. Then there is sectarian terrorism, people belonging from different sect commit terrorist activities against the other sect. Then external terrorism can be divided into two. First, there is jihadi terrorism, that the terrorist group practice. We can give example of ISKP, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, then Daesh, such kind of groups. Then there is also a state-sponsored terrorism. We all know that every country in the world definitely has some rivals, and Pakistan also has some rival. So the rival countries, to pressurize the other country, sponsor terrorist groups to commit terrorist activities in the rival country. And we all know that we have a rival that is, I would not say that this country is a rival, but right now we are not in good condition, we are not in good relation with our neighbor. The neighbor that is in the east, India. So we all know that India launched hybrid warfare against Pakistan. So this is a external kind of terrorism. So this was a brief discussion of the categories of terrorism in Pakistan. So let's start the detailed study of the different categories of terrorism in Pakistan. We're going to start with the internal terrorism. Internal terrorism is the kind of terrorism that people from within the country practice. So the first type of internal terrorism is ethnic terrorism. We all know that Pakistan is multi-ethnic. There are different ethnicities in this country, and some of these ethnicities are rival to each other. They do not like each other. So these different ethnicities fight among themselves. We all know that we have Pathan, Baloch, Urdu speaker, Punjabi, and there are some incidents in which Pathan fight Sindhi and Punjabi fight Pathan. There have been some incidents in past. A recent incident that I can quote here is the incident of Pathan and Sindhi unrest in Hyderabad in July 2022. In July 2022, there were some conflicts and some unrest and fighting between these two ethnicities of Pakistan in Hyderabad. So this is ethnic terrorism, when an ethnicity does not like the other ethnicity and try to fight with the other ethnicity and try to commit such kind of activities. Then there are separatist movements in Pakistan. We all know that Baloch people are marginalized in Balochistan, and these people, to free this province from Pakistan, to separate this province from Pakistan, run separatist movements. And to attain their political and social goal, they commit terrorist activities against Pakistan. We all know the BLA and BLF. These are secessionist organization, Balochistan Liberation Army. And these organizations commit terrorist activities. They spread violence and fear to attain their goals. And in the past few months, we have seen a rise in activities of this BLA and BLF. So these are the separatist movements. Then there are nationalist movements. These people are the sub-nationals in Pakistan, and they fight for the identification within the federation. They feel alienation, and definitely there are some consequences behind these kind of movements, and the state should address these consequences and try to resolve the issues. So these nationalist people feel themselves alienated from the federation, and they fight for the identification and recognition within the federation. For example, Sindhi people, they feel alienation. Then there are the people of Hazara. People of Hazara are oppressed and they are marginalized. We all know this. They also feel alienation. So they start this nationalist movements. Then there is sectarian terrorism, and I believe that this is the worst kind of terrorism. I mean, Shia-Sunni conflict is the worst kind of terrorism. Muslims are fighting amongst each other on the basis of this sect. So we all know that there is a Shia-Sunni conflict in Pakistan, and I would like to tell all the people here that before 1979, there was no Shia-Sunni conflict in Pakistan, but after the invasion of Soviets in Afghanistan, this conflict erupted in Pakistan. Afghan jihad spilled in Pakistan, and the two sects got divided. Before this incident, before the invasion of Soviets in Afghanistan, there was no Shia-Sunni conflict, no severe Shia-Sunni conflict in Pakistan. Both the sects were in harmony, and we would discuss this historical background in the future, and I would discuss this in detail. But There is Shia-Sunni conflict in Pakistan, and we all know this. The banned organizations like Sipai Sahaba, Sipai Muhammad, Lashkar-e-Jhangvi have been responsible for most of the sectarian violence in Pakistan. A very recent terrorist activity that happened in Peshawar city of Pakistan. We all know this, that in Qissa Khwani Bazaar, a masjid that belonged to Shia people was blasted, and there was a very deadly attack of terrorists on the Shia sect of the city Peshawar. So this was the sectarian terrorism. Now let's study external terrorism. We all know that external terrorism is the kind of terrorism that people practice from without the country. It is practiced from outside the borders of the country. State actors and non-state actors conspire against country, and they commit such kind of activities from without the country. So first of all, the first type of the external terrorism is jihadi terrorism. It started in Afghanistan with the invasion of Soviet Union in Afghanistan in 1979. In 1979, people of Afghanistan embraced the view of mujahideen, and they called themselves mujahideen, and they said that yes, we are fighting, we are doing jihad for Islam against this communist government of Soviet Union in Afghanistan. But this jihad and this kind of terrorism unfortunately spilled over in Pakistan from Afghanistan, because Pakistan is a neighbor of Afghanistan. This is how this jihadi terrorism came to Pakistan. Then a war on terror started in 2001, and Pakistan bore severe consequences of joining this war. It gave birth to jihadi groups, for example, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, that commits such kind of activities, the terrorist activities in tribal belt of Pakistan. So this is the jihadi terrorism that terrorist groups commit from without the country. And I can give the examples of terrorist groups, for example, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, and then there is Daesh, then there is ISKP, and such kind of terrorist groups. Then there is another external terrorism, state-sponsored terrorism. This kind of terrorism is sponsored by a state actor. We all know that there are rival countries of Pakistan. India is not in good relations with Pakistan these days, and there is a hybrid warfare between Pakistan and India. And India, there is a doubt that India sponsors insurgencies in Pakistan. So state-sponsored terrorism, rival countries sponsor and finance the terrorist groups to execute terrorist activities against the rival country. Alright, so these were all the types of terrorist activities that Pakistan is a victim of. I hope I have made it very clear. So now we're going to start the historical analysis of terrorism in Pakistan. We would study this in detail. We would study all the history of terrorism in Pakistan, how this terrorism came to Pakistan, why it came to Pakistan, what were the events that led to this dire situation in Pakistan, and what were the factors behind it. So we're going to study all this in detail. This is a disturbing topic, but we all know that to solve things, we need to study the things first. So we're going to study this in detail. So terrorism actually started in Pakistan with the invasion of Afghanistan by Soviets and the Iranian Revolution in 1979. These are the two events that actually started the terrorism in Pakistan. First, it was the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. Then there is Iranian Revolution of 1979. These were the two events behind the birth of terrorism in Pakistan. In 1979, Pakistan was under General Ziaul Haq at that time. and Soviets invaded Afghanistan to protect the faltering communist government. There was the communist government of Nur Muhammad Taraki. Nur Muhammad Taraki was the prime minister of Afghanistan at that time, and he was assassinated in 1979. So to protect his government, Soviets invaded Afghanistan. And Soviet and US both were busy in Cold War at the time. Soviet was trying to expand its ideology of communist government, and Afghanistan was communist at that time under the government of Nur Muhammad Taraki. But Nur Muhammad Taraki was executed because the people of Afghanistan did not want communist government there. They wanted a government based on Islamic law. So they overthrew the government, and to protect the government, Soviets invaded Afghanistan in 1979. On the other hand, US also did not want any expansion of Soviet ideology. So US backed the group of Mujahideen that was trying to overthrow the communist government that was fighting with the Soviets. US backed this group of Mujahideen. US pumped military and economic aid. US CIA pumped $3 billion, and Saudi Arabia also contributed $3.5 billion to the Afghan jihad. They started jihad then under the Islamic ideology. They called themselves Mujahideen, and they used to say that we are on a jihad for Islam. And it is very interesting to note that US was at their back at the time, because it was fighting for the Mujahideen were fighting for themselves, for Islam, but this jihad was also in favor of US, because US was a rival of Soviet at the time. Osama bin Laden formed the group Al-Qaeda to continue the jihad, and studies show, people say, that Osama bin Laden himself commanded some of the battles in Afghanistan. Osama bin Laden at the time was fighting for US. I mean, all this fight of Mujahideen was in favor of US. So US was supporting this fight of Mujahideen economically and militarily also. And Pakistan was also ordered by US to join this war. All the economic and military aid from USA and Saudi Arabia and all other countries also was channeled to Afghanistan from Pakistan. From Pakistan, these Afghani people used to receive this aid that US used to send. Mujahideen who were fighting in this jihad were also trained in the tribal belt of Pakistan. And Ziaul Haq was the commander at the time, and he was doing all this for USA to overthrow the communist government in Afghanistan. US supplied weapons, and these weapons were then used against Pakistan also. Now, this is where things started turning against Pakistan. Pakistan was training Mujahideen in the tribal belt of Pakistan, but there was a point when these Mujahideen turned against Pakistan. I mean, not all Mujahideen, but some of the Mujahideen. They proliferated in Pakistan. Kalashnikov culture proliferated in Pakistan. Afghan people migrated to Pakistan. 3 million Afghan people migrated to Pakistan because there was a war in Afghanistan and they did not want to stay there. So they moved to Pakistan, and with them they brought Kalashnikov culture, drug culture, gun culture in Pakistan. This was the thing that started terrorism in Pakistan. Moreover, we all know that in Afghanistan, people were fighting under the name of Islam. They used to claim that they are fighting, their ideology is Islam because they're trying to overthrow a communist government. Well, viewers, communism is actually somehow against religion. So the Mujahideen claimed that they are fighting for Islam and they're trying to overthrow this communist government. So this was the thing that gave rise to militant groups in Pakistan also. Militant groups like Sipai Sahaba and Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, they grew in Pakistan, they got strengthened in Pakistan, and these groups were Sunni militant groups. This is very interesting to note here that these groups were Sunni militant groups, and when they were supplied with weapons, they turned their guns towards the Shia minority of Pakistan. This gave rise to sectarian terrorism and militancy in Pakistan. This is how the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan impacted Pakistan. Moreover, we know that at that time Iranian revolution was also in progress in Iran in 1979, and this was a revolution of Shia people, and Saudi Arabia was not happy with this revolution. Saudi Arabia was threatened that there is a revolution of Shia people in one of the neighbor of Pakistan. So Saudi Arabia secretly financed the militant groups like Sipai Sahaba and Lashkar-e-Jhangvi. These were Sunni militant groups. So these Sunni militant groups started fighting with the Shia militant groups of Iran, and they persecuted the Shia people of Pakistan also, the Shia minority of Pakistan also. And this is how sectarian terrorism started in Pakistan. This is how these two events, Soviet invasion of Afghanistan and Iranian Revolution of 1979, gave birth to terrorism in Pakistan. These two events gave birth to sectarian terrorism and militancy in Pakistan. This was the birth of terrorism in Pakistan. This is how terrorism started in Pakistan in 1979. Then in 1980, Iraq-Iran war started, and these two countries fought till 1988. We all know that this was a proxy war between Iran and Saudi Arabia in 1979. Monarchy was overthrown in Iran, and Shia-Sunni hostility was at its peak. Saudi Arabia was threatened by this Iranian revolution, and Saudi Arabia started funding the Sunni militant groups in Pakistan. Groups like Sipai Sahaba, Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, these kind of groups were funded by Saudi Arabia so that these groups can fight against the Shia groups of Iran. But it impacted Pakistan negatively. These groups started fighting against the Shia community of Pakistan, the minority Shia of Pakistan. These groups turned their guns towards the minority Shia community of Pakistan, and it gave rise to sectarian terrorism in Pakistan. Then in 1989, Soviet Afghanistan ended, and US withdrew its financial aid from Afghanistan and Pakistan as well, because US won the Cold War and USSR was disintegrated now. Now Afghanistan was of no use to US. So US left and abandoned Afghanistan in a very bad condition, in chaos. Afghanistan was in chaos at that time. There was civil war in Afghanistan. The trained Mujahideen were abandoned now. Civil war was in Afghanistan. Mujahideen then did not know what to do. They were abandoned. They disintegrated USSR, and now they are abandoned by US and Pakistan also. US set a government of Muhammad Najibullah in Afghanistan, but this government was not strong, and this government did not have the backing of the Mujahideen. Mujahideen did not like this government, so they founded a political movement of Taliban under the leadership of Mullah Umar. Now here there is a very interesting thing to note, that Taliban was started as a political movement and not as a terrorist organization. Mujahideen founded this, and this was a political movement under the leadership of Mullah Umar. They overthrew the interim government of Muhammad Najibullah, and in 1996 Taliban set their own government. Taliban actually wanted the implementation of Islamic Sharia law in Afghanistan, and they wanted their own government, so they set their own government in 1996, overthrowing the interim government of Muhammad Najibullah. But this all impacted Pakistan very negatively. In Pakistan, sectarian conflict was born, militancy was born, terrorism was born. Shia were attacking Sunni and Sunnis were attacking Shia. So these all events of the neighbor of Pakistan, of the region of South Asia, impacted Pakistan adversely, and terrorism started in Pakistan. Then a very gruesome incident took place in 2001. On September 11, 2001, Al-Qaeda attacked the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. There were definitely some conflicts between Al-Qaeda and US, so Al-Qaeda committed this deadly attack on US, on the two main pillars of US, the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. Then the Bush administration launched war against terrorism. They launched war on terror. They started an operation that was called Operation Enduring Freedom in October 2001, and this operation aimed at dismantling and putting an end to Al-Qaeda. Pakistan was dragged into this war by Bush administration. Pakistan was compelled. Pakistan was threatened to join US in this war. Pakistan did not have any other choice because Pakistan is a neighbor of Afghanistan. Then NATO forces and US invaded Afghanistan and they started a war on terror. They believed that the leader of Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, was given a safe haven in Afghanistan. They wanted the Afghan Taliban to hand over Osama bin Laden to Bush administration, but Afghan Taliban rejected this order. Then Bush administration invaded Afghanistan. Pakistan was also dragged into this war, and Pakistan was used as a military base for conducting drone attacks in Afghanistan. Taliban government was overthrown, their militants were killed, there was a entire situation of chaos and war and very bad situation in Afghanistan. Then from 2001 to early 2010, Al-Qaeda and militants of Afghan Taliban kept on attacking Pakistani civilians and political figures because they believed that Pakistan gave away to US in Afghanistan, and they considered Pakistan as a rival country, as an enemy. And this was to some extent true also, because Pakistan was also in war on terror and Pakistan gave military bases to US. US was launching attacks on Afghanistan. So Afghan Taliban started terrorist activities in Pakistan because they wanted to retaliate. They wanted to undermine Pakistan. They kept on attacking Pakistani civilians and political figures from 2001 to early 2010. This is how war on terror impacted Pakistan. It caused great losses to Pakistan. Studies show that almost 70,000 civilians of Pakistan lost their lives in this war on terror. Then, to eradicate terrorism from Pakistan, the Pakistan Army started doing military operations. They started this military operations in 2008 and they continued these operations till 2019, as I can remember. In 2007, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan was established and it started its attacks in northwest border region of Pakistan, and many operations were started against TTP and its extremist allies in Bajour, South and North Waziristan. Some of the operations that I have added here: Operation Rahe-Haq, it was launched in 2007, Operation Zilzala, Operation Sherdil that was started in 2008, then Operation Rahe-Rast of 2009, and then Operation Rahe-Nijat of 2009. These were the operations launched by Pakistan Army against these terrorist organizations in the tribal region of Pakistan. So Pakistani Army was conducting military operations against Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. In 2013, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif started peace talks with this terrorist organization Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, but this was an abortive effort and no good result was achieved from these peace talks. And in 2014, Pakistan Army started Operation Zarb-e-Azb because in 2014, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan attacked Karachi airport. Some people were killed, some were injured, and then military operation was started named Zarb-e-Azb against this Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan in North Waziristan. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan responded to the offensive with several attacks, and the deadliest attack was on the Army Public School in Peshawar in December 2014. This was the deadliest and the most gruesome attack of the history of Pakistan. In this attack, more than 150 people were killed, and most of them were school children. Most of them were students because the terrorist organization bombed this army public school in Peshawar, and there was school shooting, and the students were killed in this attack. After this attack, a national action plan with the consequences of all political parties of Pakistan was designed in 2014, and military continued launching operation against these terrorist organizations, and Pakistani security forces declared the victory in 2016. They declared that they have cleared North Waziristan of the militants. Almost 3,500 militants were killed in the operations, but Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan continued to operate and carry out major attacks. There were terrorist attacks in 2016 also. We cannot say that in 2016 the Pakistan Army eradicated terrorism from Pakistan. There were military attacks in 2016 also. In March 2016, suicide bombing in a park in Lahore that targeted families celebrating Easter. Then in August 2016, the terrorist groups targeted a gathering of lawyers in a hospital in Quetta. People were killed here in this suicide bombing also, and these terrorist organizations kept on committing such kind of evil crimes against Pakistani people and Pakistani security personnel. Then in 2017, Pakistan Army started Operation Raddul Fasad. It was once again to eliminate the threat of terrorism from Pakistan and consolidating the gains of Operation Zarb-e-Azb, because Zarb-e-Azb could not eliminate terrorism from Pakistan. Then the years from 2018 to 2020 were comparatively peaceful, but the threat of terrorism was still there. The years were peaceful, but we cannot say that the threat was completely eliminated. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan continued its activities. The frequency was less, but we cannot say that there were no terrorist activities. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan was killing security personnel, attacking polio team, and it was also attacking Chinese nationals. So from 2016 to 2020, these years were comparatively peaceful in Pakistan. There were terrorist activities, but there were comparatively less terrorist activities due to the operations launched by Pakistan Army. I have discussed these operations. Pakistan Army launched Operation Zarb-e-Azb, Operation Raddul Fasad, Operation Rahe-Nijat, Operation Rahe-Haq. It was the fruit and the consequences of all these operations that terrorist activities, the frequency of terrorist activities was decreased in these years. Then from 2021, activities started gaining momentum again. We all know that in 2021, the Serena Hotel of Quetta was attacked, and the Interior Minister of that time, Sheikh Rashid, announced that this was an attack on Chinese national. There was I don't know, some ambassador of China or some other representative of China, but the person was residing in that hotel, and this hotel was attacked. but fortunately the person was safe, the Chinese was safe, but 13 people, I don't remember exactly, 13 or 5 people, I think 5 people were killed in this attack. Then there was another attack on a bus on the Dasu Dam, and this attack was once again on the Chinese residents. 13 people were killed in this attack, and 9 of them were Chinese residents. So this attack was actually on Chinese, and the people who executed this attack were some irritants. They were irritated with Chinese people and they did not want Chinese activities in Pakistan. So this is the reason they attacked. So what I'm trying to say here is that from 2021, terrorist activities are gaining momentum again. From 2016 to 2020, the years were comparatively peaceful. There were less terrorist activities, but after 2021 to 2023, terrorism is once again gaining momentum in Pakistan. So we have studied terrorism in detail. Now we have a very good understanding of terrorism. We know the definition of terrorism, what is terrorism, the goals of terrorist groups behind this terrorism, and the type of terrorism that Pakistan is a victim of, and a very detailed historical analysis of terrorism in Pakistan. We started from 1979 and we studied till 2021. Now we know that there is a resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. Pakistan is facing an increasing threat of terrorism once again, and it started after the revival of Taliban government in Afghanistan. Taliban government took over Afghanistan in August 2021, and after its revival, all the other terrorist groups have emboldened themselves. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan has increased terrorist activities. This terrorist organization is attacking security personnel as well as civilians. Each other day we hear news of some blast or terrorist activity in Peshawar, KPK, and North Waziristan especially. Then sectarian and separatist groups have also gained momentum owing to the revival of Taliban government in Afghanistan. So now we would study in detail the resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan, some events of terrorism in Pakistan in 2022 and 2023, and the factors behind this resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan and the solution also. So we studied all the terrorist activities in Pakistan till 2021. Now we know that in August of 2021, Afghan Taliban overthrew the government of Ashraf Ghani in Afghanistan, and they took over the charge of Afghanistan. And after that, terrorist activities started gaining momentum in Pakistan because terrorist groups were emboldened. So now we're going to study some terrorist activities that happened in 2022 in Pakistan. First of all, there is Lahore bombing of January 2022. Improvised explosive device was exploded in the Anarkali market of Lahore. Baloch Nationalist Army, that is a separatist organization from Balochistan province of Pakistan, claimed responsibility for this attack. Then the attack of a Shia mosque in Qissa Khwani Bazaar of Peshawar city of Pakistan. A Shia mosque was attacked by ISKP, Islamic State of Khorasan province. This is a terrorist organization. This organization attacked a Shia mosque in Pakistan, and it was a sectarian attack. Shia people, Shia community was attacked in this blast, in this attack. It happened on March 4, 2022. Then on April 26, 2022, a suicide bombing happened in Karachi University, and Balochistan Liberation Army (BLA) claimed the responsibility. Once again, this was an attack by a separatist organization, separatist group. So we can see here that now these separatist movements such as BLA and BNA, these movements are also gathering strength. They are also emboldened by the revival of Afghanistan, by the revival of Taliban in Afghanistan. Then on May 12, 2022, another terrorist activity happened in Sadr, and BLA, Balochistan Liberation Army, claimed responsibility for this bombing. A lady who came to Sadr for shopping with his son, she was killed in this bombing in Karachi, and BLA claimed this responsibility. Once again, this was a terrorist activity committed by a separatist organization. Then on December 18, 2022, the Counter-Terrorism Department CTD of Bannu was attacked by TTP. TTP took the officers hostage. So it shows that now the terrorist groups and the separatist groups have gained momentum. They are encouraged now and they are emboldened now. So these were the terrorist activities that happened in 2022 in Pakistan. So the 2023 is also not very peaceful. This year, the activities of terrorist organizations have risen significantly. We are now in the second half of 2023, and the first half was not very peaceful or good. There is cross-border terrorism, there is shooting of intelligence officers, attacks on police stations and police outposts, and the deadliest attack of 2023 was on Peshawar Police Lines Mosque. It happened on January 30, 2023. 84 people were killed. And the Jamaat-ul-Ahrar, a faction of the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, claimed responsibility for this bombing. Then another suicide bombing occurred on March 6, 2023, Bolan suicide bombing. Then on July 18, 2023, there was a blast in Hayatabad, a residential area of Peshawar city. Then July 25, Khyber district suicide bombing at another masjid, Ali Masjid. And a day before yesterday, July 30, 2023, Khar bombings. At least 80 people died in suicide bombing at an event held by supporters of Maulana Fazlur Rahman, leader of the Jamaat-e-Ulama-e-Islam party. Now here we can see that the first 7 months of 2023 were not good. They were not peaceful. In fact, in these months, the terrorist activities have risen significantly. The terrorist organizations have gained momentum and they are attacking Pakistani civilians and the intelligence officers and security personnel and the political figures as well. There is a resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. And all this data, all these terrorist activities prove this and bear this out that yes, now there's a resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. And definitely there are some factors behind it, and the state should resolve all these conflicts and try to protect its civilians and eliminate the threat of terrorism. So now we're going to study the most important part of this lecture today, factors behind the resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. What are the factors behind the situation that we are in today? Where the government went wrong and what mistakes it made that led to resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. So the first factor behind the situation is withdrawal of US troops from Afghanistan in 2021. We all know that before the August of 2021, there were US troops in Afghanistan that dismantled all the terrorist groups in Afghanistan. Terrorist groups like Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, ISKP, Daesh once again have started using the land of Afghanistan for their malicious agenda. Once again, there is no obstacle in their way in Afghanistan. They know that now there are no US troops in Afghanistan and they can use the land of Afghanistan for their malicious agenda, especially Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan found safe havens in Afghanistan. And evidence to this thing is that on 31st July 2022, leader of Al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri, was killed in Kabul by the drone of US. It shows that Afghan Taliban is violating the agreement that was reached between US and Afghan Taliban. Afghan Taliban vowed that it would not let any terrorist organization harbor in Afghanistan, on the land of Afghanistan. But Ayman al-Zawahiri, who was the leader of Al-Qaeda, was killed in Kabul. So it shows that Afghan Taliban is violating the agreement. So the withdrawal of US troops from Afghanistan was the first factor behind the resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. Afghan Taliban is unable to protect its neighbors from the threat of terrorism. Terrorist groups are using the land of Afghanistan to launch attacks against the neighbors of Afghanistan. And these groups are launching attack against Pakistan from the land of Afghanistan. Then the second factor is the revival of Taliban government in Afghanistan in 2021. In the August of 2021, Afghan Taliban set its government in Afghanistan. Afghan Taliban overthrew the government of Ashraf Ghani and they set their own government because they wanted a government on Sharia law in Afghanistan. After their revival, many terrorist groups found safe havens in Afghanistan. They knew that now there are no US troops and no US army to prevent them from attacking the neighbors of Afghanistan. So the revival of Taliban government is one of the major factors behind resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. Then for TTP, we all know that there is a ideological alignment, blood relation and historic bonding between Afghan Taliban and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. When Afghanistan was in a situation of war, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan was in strong relation with Afghan Taliban. So there's an ideological alignment and blood relation and historic bonding. This is the reason that Afghan Taliban cannot coerce or cannot adopt a strict policy against Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. And this is the thing that Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan is taking advantage of. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan knows that now in Afghanistan there is a government of their own brothers. There is a government of an organization that is ideologically aligned with Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and that is also related to them. They have blood relations and historic bonding with Afghan Taliban. So Afghanistan right now is safe haven for Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. They are safe there and they can launch attacks against Pakistan from the land of Afghanistan. This is the second factor behind the resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. Then inspiration from Afghan Taliban government. We all know that Afghan Taliban is the organization that fought against the superpower and its allies. Afghan Taliban won against the USA, that is the superpower of the world, and its allies also. It won against NATO forces. It defeated a well-trained army that had the most sophisticated weapons. Afghan Taliban defeated USA in Afghanistan. So all these things embolden other terrorist organizations in the region. Now TTP and other terrorist organizations believe that if Afghan Taliban can defeat a superpower in Afghanistan, why these terrorist organizations cannot defeat the small nations of South Asia like Pakistan, and why they cannot make Pakistan accept all the conditions put by Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan put very strict conditions before Pakistan government when the negotiations were in process between Pakistan government and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, mediated by Afghan Taliban, and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan is now emboldened by the victory of Afghan Taliban government, and now it believes it has an illusion that if Afghan Taliban can defeat a superpower, why not they can defeat a small country like Pakistan? So this is another factor that there is a resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan is encouraged now, it is feeling emboldened, its strength is bolstered now, and now it feels that yes, we can also defeat such states like Pakistan. So these organizations are taking their inspiration from Afghan Taliban government. This is the factor behind resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. Then another factor is the flawed Afghan policy by Pakistan government. We all know that Pakistan has always been a player in mediation between US and Afghanistan. Pakistan can never stay out of this matter. Pakistan is always involved in this matter. So Pakistan, while mediating the peace deal between US and Afghan Taliban, adopted a wrong policy towards Taliban. Pakistan did not put any conditions in front of Afghan Taliban. There were no conditions from the side of Pakistan. Pakistan just mediated this peace deal, and Pakistan did not put in front of Taliban its own conditions for mediating this peace deal. Pakistan should have put some conditions before Afghan Taliban. Pakistan should have made them promise Pakistan that the land of Afghanistan would never be used for executing terrorist activities against the state of Pakistan. But Pakistan did not put such conditions in front of Afghan Taliban. Pakistan supported Afghan Taliban government. In fact, some fanatic groups even celebrated the fall of Kabul. So these things gave a rejuvenating impact on Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. This was the flawed policy of Pakistan government. These things emboldened Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. And now Afghan Taliban does not feel any obligation to prevent Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan from executing any attack on the land of Pakistan. Another factor behind this resurgence is the negotiations with Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. These negotiations backfired. We all know that Shehbaz government in the October of 2022 offered negotiations to settle conflicts with Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, but these negotiations backfired. These negotiations bolstered Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. In fact, TTP just bought time to prepare for further attacks in Pakistan. Afghanistan was mediating these talks, but Afghanistan did not take a firm stance against Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan because Afghan Taliban have historical bonding with this terrorist organization. It did not offer any help and termed this issue Pakistan's internal matter. So the negotiations failed. Another factor behind resurgence of terrorism is inadequate counter-terrorism infrastructure. Pakistan does not have adequate counter-terrorism infrastructure. There are serious capacity issues and law enforcement issues in KPK especially. The manpower of CTD is poorly trained and ill-equipped. There was an incident in December 18, 2022 when the Bannu CTD was attacked by Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, and it shows that there is inadequate counter-terrorism infrastructure. Another factor is the soft corner for Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan led to escalation of terrorist attacks. Well, the history shows that Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan has always been involved in heinous crimes against Pakistan. They killed security personnel and innocent civilians. And Pakistan government offered negotiations to Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, and this offer emboldened Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. When the top brass of Pakistan and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan were busy in these negotiations, the rest of the militants of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan was busy in preparing for further attacks in Pakistan. They just bought time for preparing for further attacks in Pakistan. So the soft corner for Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan hurted Pakistan, and it led to escalation of terrorist attacks in Pakistan. Pakistani government should not have adopted this policy of negotiation with Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. In fact, it should have started operations against this terrorist organization. Then another factor behind resurgence of terrorism is that Pakistan is not in good relations with the US these days. No good ties with the US. Well, Pakistan has not been in good relations with US since 2022, and now Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan knows that US is not involved in this matter, and the obstacle of US is removed for Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan from Afghanistan and from Pakistan as well. So the terrorist organization is completely free to increase the frequency of this terrorist activities. So we have studied all the immediate causes behind the resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. Now we should study the deep-rooted causes behind the birth and resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. What is wrong with the system of Pakistan that led to the birth and growth of militancy and terrorism in Pakistan? Where are the loopholes in the system, and what things should be fixed to eradicate this terrorism? First of all, there are some loopholes in the political system of Pakistan. We all know that since 2022, political leaders are busy in political battles. Political leaders of PDM and PTI, these are busy in mudslinging and blame game, and these people are not interested in the welfare of people and in the welfare of a state. All they want is the power and authority. They just want to win the elections. They are not interested in the welfare of people. They are busy in political battles, and the enemy is very cleverly and secretly undermining the security of the country. Enemy is doing its job. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan is doing its job, and political leaders, they are busy in political battles. Then another deep-rooted cause of terrorism in Pakistan is economic instability. We all know that Pakistan, the economy of Pakistan has always been unstable. The country's coffer these days is empty. Youth is unemployed and frustrated. And we all know that when youth is unemployed and cannot earn, and youth is free and does not have a good activity, youth is frustrated. These things make youth vulnerable to militancy. It is very easy to lure such young people in militancy and terrorism. So this is the weapon of militant organization, of terrorist organization. They lure young people because they know that young people are unemployed and they are not happy with their state, so they would very happily stand against their state. And this is what's happening in Balochistan. Balochistan is underdeveloped, and the people of Balochistan do not have basic necessities. So they have stood against the state. and they have started their own separatist movements. So the economic instability is a very deep-rooted cause that led to the rise of terrorism and militancy in Pakistan. Another factor, deep-rooted factor, is flawed education system. We all know that our education system is flawed. It's not good. There is just a business and commercialization of education system in Pakistan. Education has been treated and considered as an industry where elite private schools are just interested in earning money. There is no uniformity in education system in Pakistan. There is segregation in education system of Pakistan. There are elite private school in which the children of elite study, and then there are private school, then there are public school, and then there are madrasa. There is no check and balance, no accountability of these institutions, and no one knows what these schools are teaching. So the flawed education system does not produce, does not give good people in the society. And this education system does not address social issues in the right manner. So even the educated people in Pakistan do not know of the social issues and their solution. They do not know what to do and how to do. Another factor behind the terrorism in Pakistan, and I believe that this is one of the most important factor and it should be resolved, this is regional inequality. Regional inequality is deep rooted in Pakistan. Balochistan and interior Sindh are underdeveloped and marginalized. People of these provinces do not even have basic necessities of life. They do not have water, food, or sanitation, or education system, or any hospitals, or communication, transportation. They do not have anything like this. They are living in abysmal condition. On the other hand, the northern Punjab is well developed. Northern Punjab is happy. So this regional inequality instills hatred and wrath in people of underdeveloped areas. This is the reason that there is widespread insurgency in Balochistan, because Balochistan is underdeveloped. And the people of Balochistan feel marginalized, they feel alienation, and they do not want to be a part of Pakistan. They start running separatist movements. This is the thing that gives birth to militancy and insurgency. That is also a form of terrorism. So these were all the factors behind the birth of terrorism and the resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. Now we're going to study the measures that Pakistan should take to eradicate terrorism, not only from Pakistan but from entire region. So first of all, we're going to study the measures that Pakistan can take at international level. First of all, Pakistan should engage regional countries to root out terrorism. Pakistan should involve countries like Afghanistan, India, Iran, and China. These countries should cooperate and should root out terrorism not only from Pakistan but from entire region, so that there is peace in entire region. Then Pakistan must take help from the regional anti-terrorist structure of SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, founded in 2001. It provides member countries with a way to cooperate in combating terrorism. Pakistan is a member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization and it can take help from this regional anti-terrorist structure. Then Pakistan should compel Afghan Taliban on cooperation. It is very important to understand this here, that at this point Pakistan cannot turn against Afghan Taliban, because Pakistan is a neighbor of Afghanistan. And if Pakistan turns against Afghan Taliban, India can exploit the situation. So Pakistan should not turn against Afghan Taliban, but Pakistan should find some coercive leverage against Taliban. Pakistan should attempt crackdown against families or assets of Taliban that remain in Pakistan. Pakistan religious clerics should condemn their behavior, and Pakistan religious clerics should compel Afghan Taliban. Then Pakistan should close border crossing to put an economic squeeze on Taliban. We all know that Afghanistan is a landlocked country and there is no port in Afghanistan. Pakistan does not touch the sea from anywhere. It is a landlocked country and it shares the longest border with Pakistan. So Pakistan can close its border and it can put an economic squeeze on Taliban. This is the way through which Pakistan can compel Afghan Taliban on cooperation, and Pakistan can demand from Afghan Taliban peaceful negotiations with Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Pakistan can demand from Afghan Taliban that Afghan Taliban convince Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan not to launch any attack from the land of Afghanistan on Pakistan. This is how Pakistan can compel Afghan Taliban. Then Pakistan should make friendly relations with US. We all know that US has frozen assets of Afghanistan worth $7 billion, and Pakistan has always been a mediator between US and Afghan Taliban. Now Pakistan is not in friendly relations with US, but Pakistan should make friendly relations with US to coerce Afghanistan. Afghanistan would have an impression that yes, Pakistan can be of help to Afghanistan. And Pakistan is a mediator between USA and Afghan Taliban. Pakistan is in good relations with USA, so Afghanistan should not turn against Pakistan. And Afghanistan should make friendly relations with Pakistan so that Pakistan can help Afghanistan in this matter, in unfreezing its asset. So Pakistan should make friendly relations with US so that Afghanistan understands the importance of Pakistan. So those were the measures that Pakistan can take at the international level. Now we're going to study the measures that Pakistan should take at national level. First of all, Pakistan should strengthen its counter-terrorism authorities. NECTA, that is National Counter-Terrorism Authority, should play its role. Counter-terrorism authorities at center and provincial levels should be strengthened. Law enforcement agencies should be equipped with modern technology. Capacity building of its personnel should be undertaken. Then Pakistan should choke terror financing. Authorities should digitize all the data and system to increase transparency, and the authorities should make sure that the terrorist organizations are not financed by anyone. It should choke terror financing to put an economic squeeze on the terrorist organization. This is how the terrorist organization would not have enough fund to launch attack on Pakistan. Then Pakistan should erect fence along the Pak-Afghan border so that there is no smuggling of weapons, drugs, or anything. These are the measures that Pakistan should take at national level. So we have studied all the immediate measures that Pakistan should at international and national level to eradicate all the immediate causes of terrorism. Now we're going to study the long-term corrective measures that Pakistani government should adopt to put an end to all the deep-rooted cause of terrorism. First of all, Pakistan government should stabilize its economy. It should increase GDP of the government of the country. It should give youth employment so that there is no unemployed young people in the country for militant organization to lure. Then the living standard of poor should be raised. Poor should be mainstreamed in national machinery. poor people should be given employment, so that there is no incentive for them to join the militant organization, so that they do not feel any alienation and they do not join any militant organization that is against a state. Pakistan should bring poor closer to the state. Then development in underdeveloped areas like Balochistan and interior Sindh. Marginalized communities should be mainstreamed. There should be projects for development of such areas, underdeveloped areas, and there should be educational institutes, industry, transportation, and communication. There should be such kind of projects so that these people do not feel alienated and these people do not feel hatred against the state. Then there should be reforms in education sector of Pakistan. True laws and values of Islam should be taught, so that the militant organization do not succeed in brainwashing the young people. We should educate the people in schools. There should be uniformity in schools throughout the country, and education should be free for poor children. So these are the long-term corrective measures that the government should adopt to eradicate, to eliminate the threat of terrorism in Pakistan. So this is the end of this video today. We have discussed the terrorism in detail. We now understand what is terrorism. We have discussed the type of terrorist activities in Pakistan, then the historical analysis, then the resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan, then the factors behind the resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan, and the way forward for Pakistan to eradicate terrorism also. We have studied all this in detail. I hope that whatever I delivered here today, all of you were able to understand, all of the listeners were able to understand. I tried to make it comprehensive, simple, and understandable. And I hope that everything is clear now. So this is the end of this video today. Thank you so much for listening to me. And Allah Hafiz, and don't forget to subscribe the channel Knowledge Realm.